All right. Hot tag comes in the form of AEW Collision this week from yesterday, 12/7/2024. We open up hot let me first just say that, again, just like in Fishers, Indiana, the GalaxyCon audience was fantastic. It looked like it was a capacity crowd. It did show the non-hot, non, what do you call it, hard cam side a couple of times, and there were people there. I mean, they looked to be having a great time. They even had some cool angles that they shot from right in the middle of the aisle, which I thought was kind of neat. Allowed them to do some cinema, cinematography stuff they normally don't do.
Yep.
Um, Lots of cosplay in the crowd. Like this
Yeah.
was, I know that they switched to this venue, and at the time, several weeks ago, and I know that at the time it was seen as kind of a controversial decision, but I think it was the right one because this crowd was hot. They
Yeah.
loved everything. It's another like it's just another example of you know if you get um, you get those smaller crowds, but you get them in a packed house where everybody is in love with the product. It's going to come across more. It's a TNA principle. Like it's just going to come across better.
Yeah.
Um, I was watching Kate Elizabeth from Fightful on her YouTube channel, and she brought up a point that I hadn't considered. She has a marketing background. Shout out to Kate. Doubt you listen, but but if you do, thank you for listening. Uh, love Kate. She's a peach. But she brought up a point about the running those bigger buildings, those bigger markets. Even with the crowd issues that they might have. I guess one of the benefits of doing that though is that once you're there, you get put on like emailing lists. So then whenever you come back around, those emails go out on those lists, and you can get those fans back again.
Mhm.
So like it's one of those things where it may have been worth it, at least in a couple of markets, to do the bigger venue without filling it up, because when they come back, it'll be better advertised because the advertisement won't necessarily be coming from AEW itself, but the arena.
Yeah.
So maybe they can fix some of their issues that way too. So I mean, maybe just getting onto those lists is benefiting in and of itself. That said, for the sake of this show, this was a hot crowd. Everybody loved everything. I particularly loved the first match, which was Darby Allin versus Commander, who is filling in for Juice Robinson. Now that Juice is unfortunately injured, get better soon, Juice. Um, and they just tore it down. Like I'm sure that it went kind of viral, at least on Blue Sky. I don't know about other social media sites or whatever, but there is one spot in this match, and it happens fairly early on, where how Darby likes to do the thing where every time he comes and shows up to work, he tries to figure out a new creative way to nearly kill himself.
Yes.
Yeah, he did that. He put Commander in the seat, the folding chair, out in the rampway, and proceeded to do his suicide dive. Suicide, more like a senton, really, because he flipped.
Mhm.
But Commander moved at the last second, and Darby's poor, fragile little hips went straight into and completely exploded that chair. And he was like clutching his tailbone for the rest of the match. And I doubt that was just selling. Uh, it would not surprise me if he had cracked his tailbone and is just powering through, because that's who Darby Allin is. Pain ain't no thing for Darby Allin.
Not a
And
thing.
the great thing about that too was that, I mean, I hope he's not really hurt, but the great thing about that spot too was that it allowed Commander to do something that he normally doesn't get a chance to do: dominate a match for an extended period of time. It got
Yeah.
to really show an audience what the guy could actually do, because he was in there against another guy whose whole MO is fighting from underneath. So when you've got two of those guys in the same match, well, only one of them can have that role.
Yeah.
Might as well give it to Darby, since he's going to win anyway, and he's more established. And he's more established. People are already behind him. give Commander the chance to show what he can do. And he can do a lot. He is not winning any of the matches that he's going to be in. I
No, I
guarantee
don't
you
think so.
he's not gonna win a single one. But he is maximizing his minutes. Like that dude is so impressive. Like and you can tell that Tony likes him because A, he put him in the spot, and B, prior to putting him in the spot, that dude, even though he was staring at the lights, 19 out of 20 times, the dude is always booked.
Mm-hmm.
He's always booked at least once per week.
Well,
Like
he's exciting.
you know that he's a favorite of TK's if he continues to get booked like that. They've got a lot of exciting guys. They've got
Mm-hmm.
a lot of guys who can do a lot of stuff that get the crowd over, and they've got a lot of guys who are the underneath guys, quite frankly, because that's just what happens when you have a big roster. But
Yeah.
you can tell that he specifically is a guy that Tony likes because he gets booked a lot, and he was the one who got this opportunity, and he is making the most of it. He didn't win. He got he went for the roadblock shooting star press, but Darby moves. He grapevines the legs. He looked like he was looking for the Last Supper, but he couldn't quite get it. So he just kind of folded him up with his legs crossed for the win. But yeah, no, this was a great hot start. Love the match. Um,
Yeah, it was fantastic.
yeah. Women's action. Willow Nightingale returns, faces Serena Deeb. To face who the winner gets Jamie Hayter, and the winner of that gets into Wrestle Dynasty, the International Women's Cup. My God, I love Willow Nightingale so much. She is so infectious. It is and in this day and age where the white meat baby face is kind of passe, she manages to pull it off just effortlessly.
Mm-hmm.
She's just naturally likable. And Serena Deeb is obviously like a wizard in the ring.
Oh
She's
yeah, she's
so
so
technically
good.
sound. These two, in my mind, just had really, really good chemistry. Deeb looked really good. She looked like there were a couple of points in the match where it looked like she actually had a shot of winning, even
Mm-hmm.
though everybody knows that Willow's
Oh yeah, we know we're
she's going to be
barreling towards Willow and Jamie. Like,
yeah. 2025 is going to be Willow's year.
hmm I think
She
so too.
will at some point win the women's world title. I don't think you can avoid it. I don't think you would want to.
No.
I think it's inevitable. Willow Nightingale is inevitable. Get used to it. If you're not on board, I don't see how you couldn't be on board because she's wonderful and makes me happy. But I don't know. But get on board now if you're not already.
Right?
But yeah, Eve shows her technical prowess. She shows her toughness. Knocks Willow down a couple of times, including a Pepsi twist, which was nice to see. Uh, uh, Willow hit an Oklahoma Stampede, which used to be her finish. So it was nice
Yeah.
to see her breaking that out again. That was cool. Deeb actually gets the Deeb talks, but Willow kicks out. I think that's the first time we've seen that. That's the
Yeah.
first time I can recall anybody kicking out of the Deeb talks anyway. But straps come down after hitting a pounce, and the Babe with the power bomb wins the match. Like, what more could you want? Like, this got some time. It really like this women's division needs more time in general. So I'm glad that
hmm
this got time. And Dynamite had Penelope versus Anna Jay, and it was okay, but it wasn't this.
No.
This is real good. This was real good.
hmm
Um, uh, John Moxley and the Death Riders come out to the ring, and this is great too. He runs down everybody. Like it's one of those things where you're looking at John Moxley and you're like, okay, well, you're saying that nobody deserves to be champion, and you're gonna rate like, is your whole deal to just burn AEW to the ground and then have AEW be just the Death Riders, since nobody can stack up to you, John?
hmm
Like, what is your end game? I don't understand the end game. Like, what is he
Well, I
doing?
mean, obviously Pac's end game is to be in every match because he
Yeah,
never wears anything but gear. So maybe
yeah,
they do want it to only be the Death Riders and Pac's in every match so that he has a
yeah,
justification to never change out of his gear
yeah.
or
That
dry
dude
off.
is, yeah, yeah. He's
He's
always
always super wet.
drenched. He's always drenched. Um, Maybe he just likes John Moxley a lot. I
Maybe.
don't know. But Orange Cassidy comes out right after John Moxley says, "If Cassidy comes out and pisses me off one more time, I'm going to literally
I'm
take him
gonna
off the
take him off
board."
the board.
And then the Pixies hit, and it was
Yeah.
just like, and oh my, I just
I was like, here he goes to piss you off, you
oh,
know?
oh, like it's these moments that really put over a talent too, because Orange Cassidy goes up there and he's so cool. Like he's just like he just walks in there, not a care in the world. He goes up
Mhm.
there against almost the entirety of the Death Riders. Claudio isn't there because he's got other business,
Yeah.
but like he's just like he's there and he's just facing off against all of them, and he's like I've come to terms with the idea of me never being AEW World Champion,
Yeah.
but I don't want you to be World Champion. That I can't live with. So and then he dares him to do something, and then Moxley doesn't do it. Shafir does it.
Yeah.
Like
She just
I
hits him in the
mean,
back. Yeah.
that's great though because it paints Moxley as this really complex figure where he's simultaneously a big mean uh, ultimate boss, but also ultimately a coward.
Hmm.
Like because and it feels weird saying John Moxley the coward, but he's not the one who hits him.
No.
It's Shafir who
Yeah.
does the dirty work. Yuta doesn't hit him. Pac doesn't hit him. Pac doesn't have a problem hitting anybody. So like, but every single one of them gave him the respect he deserved until Shafir did.
Yeah.
So they, as the commercial is going, they take him. They like tie him and quarter him basically. They like each grab a limb and drag him backstage, and then from the break, FTR are being interviewed by, or they're just cutting promo about Fight for the Fallen, which returns, and in this case is going to be uh, benefiting the uh, victims in Asheville, North Carolina, of the hurricane victims from Helene several months ago, uh, which you should all go and donate to, for the record. I'm going to. I haven't yet, but I'm going to. Probably on the night, I think, just for the sake of ceremony.
Hmm.
But yeah, they're in the middle of their promo, off screen. You hear the Death Riders, with Orange Cassidy, and they're like, "What the hell is going on?" And you see the camera go over there, and they've got a funnel now so that they can properly poison and murder Orange Cassidy with cleaning solution. And FTR comes and saves the day, and Moxley holds back his goons, and he's like, "Oh, all right." Like he's like super interested. He's like, "Okay, finally somebody I respect is getting in this. All right, like it's part of the game." And now he's like, "Okay, now the game is getting interesting. The wheels are turning in his head. You can see." I'm okay with the idea of FT Orange beating the former Blackpool Combat Club for the trios title.
Hmm.
Honestly, uh, like I didn't see the rest of the conglomeration coming to his aid. So screw those guys. Hang around with FTR. Get yourself a belt, kiddo.
Right.
Like, I'm okay with that. I think that should be that match should be the main event for the Fight for the Fallen show. That
Hmm.
should be. I think that's and you have if they're going to do that, they have to have the Asheville boys go over. They
Yeah.
have to. So if that happens, prepare yourself for a really cool title switch, guys. Okay, so now comes the part where I talk about what I don't particularly, what I wasn't particularly fond of. And I have a feeling that a lot of people are going to find this to be kind of a hot take. So you have been warned. I did not care for Kyle Fletcher and Kazuchika Okada.
Ooh.
Yeah. The first half of the match was unbearably slow. Like, I know that with his new look, his new gear, his haircut, and everything, that Kyle Fletcher is getting these comparisons to Randy Orton, but that doesn't mean he had to grab a rest hold for 5 minutes. Okay.
I knew that was coming.
Like, for God's sake, like, I know that it's great that you can wrestle different styles, but this was a match I was really looking forward to, and it
Mm,
didn't get going until like the second, like like the third, like the third act of the match. And
yeah.
from there, it was fine. But like, oh, he was just waiting around for them to do something. Like, I understand that, not, I mean, it's good to have different styles and it's good to have different kinds of matches on a card.
Hmm.
But when you've got this marquee match, when you've got the current champion facing off against the points leader in the tournament, I expected it to be more physical. I expected it to be more urgent.
Yeah,
And
especially with the
then,
way they've been wrestling.
yeah, like I mean, Kyle Fletcher has been incredible, and Okada's ramped up his game since the tournament started too. Now that he doesn't really have to worry about playing second fiddle to the Bucks, so like
Hmm.
it's all on him now, and I feel like he's doing a decent job. Could be doing better, but he's doing a decent job of reminding people of who he is. But this match just wasn't for me. And then the finish was like the third time this week we had a cheat finish in this
Yeah,
tournament, and like the second low blow, and I'm like, oh, like really, like it's like you said with the New Day. It made me feel how they wanted me to feel, but I don't like feeling this way. Like I don't like it made me want to see Kyle Fletcher get his butt kicked, but now I'm of the sad. I didn't. I didn't want him to be the points leader.
hmm,
I wanted them to justify Okada as the champion by having him be the points leader. That's what I wanted. I'm not going to get what I want because Kyle Fletcher isn't going to lose a single match in this tournament until he gets to the semi or finals. And I'm guessing that it's probably going to be the finals, and he's probably going to drop the match to Osprey.
yeah,
Uh, I think that's probably where they're going. There were a couple of avenues they could have explored with this tournament, which is great. It's exciting, but I think the path now is clear. If Fletcher is beating Okada, that guarantees that he's on a collision course with Osprey again. Guarantees it because he's already beaten the current champ. What more does he
yeah.
have to prove? Like, so I didn't. If they were going to do this finish for this match, I would have preferred it to be like the very last match for the both of them because then there would have been more suspense leading into it,
Yeah.
and then you could really see the justification a little bit more for Fletcher getting that desperate.
Hmm.
Like, give him some space between his matches where he cheats to win. Like he just went over Benjamin earlier this week with a cheat finish. Like twice in 1 week is kind of pushing it for me, especially when
Yeah.
you're being, oh yeah, he's the next big guy he beat. Like I know he's a heel and heels cheat, and I understand that, but it's like space it out at least. Like I don't know. To me, it was I would it's not a dud. I'm not gonna go overboard and call the match worthless or anything like that because it wasn't. The latter third of the match was appropriately exciting. I just wish it was like that the whole match,
Hmm.
or at the very least the latter two thirds rather. Like it
Yeah.
took way too long to get into it, and then that finish just it was ill placed in my opinion. Um, that said, the path is now clear. Um, the main event, however, did not disappoint because Mark Briscoe and Danny Garcia beat the holy hell out of each other.
Man, that match was so good,
I don't
wasn't
think
it,
I've ever
man?
seen
Like,
Mark Briscoe beat the hell out of somebody like that before with chops. Like his chops seemed extra loud and
I
hard
think maybe
for
Danny
some reason.
Garcia shouldn't have slapped his ass. I'm just saying. Because that's what I mean.
uh,
He slapped his ass, and then Mark Briscoe laid the hardest chops I've ever seen Mark Briscoe lay into him.
yeah,
Like, do
like
not touch my ass.
those were like Roddy level chops.
Dude, they were
and
gnarly,
and
man.
Roddy, I feel like probably has the second best chops, only to Gunther.
Yeah.
Like and that's like 1 and 1A too. Like
Yeah.
that's not as not as wide a gap as you might think with those two. Roddy
Mhm.
hits hard. um, but yeah, like this match was just it was back and forth the whole time, being the inside the ring, outside the ring, from the top rope, cactus elbows. Froggy Bow didn't do it. Uh, it was truly one of those things, and it was kind of not really an upset, but an unpredictable, not unpredictable. It wasn't what I predicted. I still saw Garcia going over simply because he's been on a roll lately. But no, Mark Briscoe finally got a match, finally got 3 points, but he had to break out the cutthroat driver to do it.
Yeah,
Like,
that was wild. I was like,
yeah.
whoa.
Oh, yeah. For those who don't know, a cutthroat driver is basically a more dangerous burning hammer. So yeah, like he had to break out the really big guns, the desperation offense to do it, but he did it. And they hugged it and shook afterwards. But I mean, this was a great match. It was definitely a great pick me up after I was disappointed by the
Mhm.
other tournament match in the middle of the show, and what was honestly not as good a match as I was hoping for Mina Shirakawa and Emi Sakura.
Yeah, I thought
Um,
that would have been better too, honestly.
they seem to be. I'm wondering if it's because Emmy hasn't seen the ring in a while. Their chemistry seemed way off. Like I'm wondering if it was ring rust or something like that. Like they had a couple of cool spots in that match, but it was like it wasn't what I was hoping
It just
because
wasn't flowing right to me.
Emmy is usually really dependable. So I
Hmm.
mean, everybody has an off night. I'm sure it was just an off night for Emmy Sakura. Honestly, I wouldn't even put the blame on Mina. I mean,
No.
blame itself is a harsh word. I don't want to put
Hmm.
blame on anybody, but like if I'm going to, I felt like Mina was there and Emmy wasn't. You know,
Hmm. Yeah.
which sucks because I love Emmy. I think she's great. She's like the Natalia of that division. She's always a dependable hand who's credible when you give her the opportunity to wrestle, but still willing to do the job at the end of the day.
Yeah.
So but yeah, a great overall, a great collision. And one more thing before we close off this segment, I do want to go. My D&D group ended a little bit earlier than I thought on Friday night, so I actually got to watch Rampage. And let me tell you, that show is going out not with a whimper, but with a bang. If you haven't watched Rampage, I mean, you'll need it to watch certain to catch up on a Continental Classic. You should do that because it was awesome. Everything on it was great. Even the short little match with the Vendetta served its purpose. Like, and I'm Jericho is building with a match for the ROH title against Matt Cardona of all people. Uh,
Yeah,
okay,
that's
it was.
okay.
I mean, it was short and it was sweet, and it got the job done of building the ROH pay per view, which what they don't even bother to do. So points to them for actually going out on a limb and advertising something on the show. Uh, uh, I'll be kind of upset if that match main events over Athena
I think
because
that's the
she's
general consensus too.
yeah, like Athena shouldn't be made to feel less than the number one star of the show because that's what she is. She's the number one star of that show.
Yeah.
Our forever champ. But yeah, yeah, Rampage was great. Go check out Rampage if you have the time. Like it was fantastic.
Yeah, I thought it was good
I
too.
I don't normally have the chance to do that. I'm normally just too busy, but happen to have the time on the day that it broadcast, and hey, I was not disappointed. Fantastic show.
Yeah.
So with that, I think there's only one thing left to do.
That's right. Let's do like the veterans do and call it in the ring.